Everyone's the hero in their own story. That's a good way to put it. You do have main character energy, Omari. If it What else? Why would you do that? Yes?
Because you think you have the evidence that they did something, but you don't really have the true evidence for what actually happened.
You really think you know. Like, you are so confident that you know. And you have definitely worked yourself up to a point where you know that you know that you know. Until you don't know. Right? Now, if you're a humble person, you'll be like, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I didn't realize. If you're not, then you will just like keep going. You'll go harder and you'll hold on to it for the rest of your life, and then you'll die. We struggle with this because it's in the air that we breathe. It is. In this way, Crino, that judgment, it acts like a contagious disease. Okay? You caught Crino from someone. You shouldn't have gone to that party. You caught Crino from somebody, and you were taught to be judgmental or have a certain level of judgments. And then you ended up hanging out in families or communities who share that same judgment with you. And then those communities judge other communities and label them, right? You just label other groups of people certain things and assume things about them. And what we do then is we bypass real relationship with real people and we go straight to assumptions, right? We build no bridges. And so instead of going from glory to glory, as John 17 says, which is what would happen if we were unified and we were having these conversations, we go from judgment to judgment. Over and over and over and over again. And it's rough. Jesus' point is that this is an immature way to live life because it lacks perspective, right? So you have a plank in your eye that you're like trying to hold up with one hand, and your brother has a speck. And as you're holding up this plank, you're like, come here, I can grab the speck. Now, it's not really a plank. It's also a speck. We all have specks, but it's about how close it is to your eye. Have you guys ever had something in your eye, and it's the most irritating thing in the entire world? And then you finally get it out, and it's a freaking eyelash or something? Give me a break. Are you kidding me? Why was this? That's what he's talking about. That eyelash feels like the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life. It's just an eyelash, right? But it feels intense. And this is what we're talking about. You've got this thing in your eye, and you need to focus on it. And if people need help, they need help. But just keep doing your thing. It's right here. The point of all of this is that our willingness to judge others' behaviors and intentions and separate from them, and that is linked to our lack of witness to the world because they're connected. They're very tightly connected. It's not the only thing that is making that hard, but in our relationships, hear this, if we carry any expectation that other believers have to be exactly like us, or behave like us, or believe like us, for us to be okay, the church is always going to struggle to minister to the world. Always. And it has. We will be so fragile. It will be so easy to take us down. I have friends who have pastored churches who have felt very stable on the surface, and then one family starts going at each other, and suddenly the church is gone. That's how fragile it can be. This person talks to this person, who talks to this person, and then suddenly there's these two factions, and then suddenly this isn't a place that anybody wants to be anymore. That is not the unity of glory and of witness that Christ has set forward for us. It's not. It's rough. For us personally, not communally, for us personally. If we carry the expectation that our relationships will be a certain kind of way, or people will act okay so that we can be okay, we're also going to struggle. That is going to be difficult. So on that point, if I can just say that as a church, we emphasize self-awareness a lot. How many of you are just tired of us talking about self-awareness stuff? Man, it's the worst. That's because none of you guys are doing, no, I'm just kidding. We emphasize it so heavily in our church. Healing care, emotionally focused, soul care, SDI, APES. We will literally do anything with you so that you will stop. No. But seriously, the reason we emphasize this so much is because self-awareness will bridge our personal struggles to a healthy community called the church. It will bring those things together because you are functioning in community. And some of the things you bring are amazing, and there's nothing but love for them, and it makes our church better. And some of the things we bring, me included, make community really difficult sometimes. It just makes it hard. And so we grow and we learn and we grow in self-awareness. Because as we grow, we only become more and more aware of what we do not know about ourselves and about others, the things that we assume are true. We only learn more about it. And then we grow in humility, right? And in humility, we always become better learners. We become better people. We stop being like toddlers who have to be told the same thing over and over and over again. I remember this moment in Greenhouse where we had done 8 personality assessments in a row or something. And we were talking about our struggles and our shadow and all this kind of stuff. And I was having a conversation with Caroline. And Caroline goes, "There's this thing I want to do that's so unhealthy right now." And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "And because I know about it, it's not even fun." And I was like, yeah. That's the real thing. It's so fun when you don't know that you're doing it, and it feels like such a relief, and then you know because someone's told you that this is an unhealthy thing, and you're getting ready to go do it, and you're like, this doesn't even feel good anymore, and I'm just doing it and I'm sad. And you're like, yeah, that's the real deal. That's where Jesus is going to meet you, and it's going to be really fun. More fun. Caroline only wants fun. So as we meet God there, we also come to a greater peace about not fixing people. Or, even in knowing someone's perspective that is different than ours, we are okay with ourselves and with God. They don't need to change their perspective. They don't need to change their belief. They don't have to be different today, and we will be okay. We don't have to justify our own beliefs by everybody believing the exact same thing. Then, in that difference, we can try to find a way to work together as we honor Jesus, right? We begin to realize in that healing that Jesus and the Holy Spirit are sanctifiers, not us, right? We don't have any control over that. He is the transformer of our hearts. And the foundation of that transformation is the mystical union we've been talking about this whole time of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. They make it possible in their relationship and in them inviting us in to just explode with love that overcomes all of these much smaller things that we would prefer divide us. Have you guys met a person who's honestly, they might be the best person you know, but have you guys met a person who is so healthy and secure that even when you bring up things that should cause a panic, they're like, whoa, that's crazy. Okay. Does anyone know anybody like that? Right? They're just good people to be around, and they will stay connected to you regardless of how crazy you are, right? It's a good thing. It's a good kind of person to be around. These are people who understand that the love goes over all of that. Doesn't mean we don't have work to do. Doesn't mean that all your beliefs are right. I guarantee you they're not. Mine aren't either. But it does mean we can work together in spite of that, because division hurts witness and glory, always. So, I'm going to share with you a very practical tool. This wouldn't normally be my ending, but I felt like the Lord told me this would help people. This might change all your relationships, so get ready for your mind to be blown. You ready? As an application for how we function in relationships, one of the biggest things that can hurt us in judgment is our expectations. We think someone should be one way or they should do one thing or something like that, and then they don't, and then you go, well, I'm upset. Darn it. Right? Expectations. This is big for me. So, I'm going to give you a brief tool for valid expectations. You ready? Go ahead, Benjamin. You can call it CARS. Is the expectation that you have for this other person, is it conscious? As in, you could actually name it. You're aware of it. Not unconscious, like you didn't even realize this is what you thought until somebody did something opposite and now you're mad. Right? Is it a conscious expectation? Does that make sense? Is it agreed upon? This is easily the hardest part. In fact, this should be the last one, but I wanted to create an acronym, so it's CARS. Is it agreed upon? Did you talk to this person and they also agreed to this expectation? If not, you're in trouble. Is it realistic? Like, can it actually be accomplished? So if you married someone with the expectation that they will fix you, that might be an unrealistic expectation because they can't. High five. Go on a date. Okay. And then finally, is it spoken? Have you said it out loud? Is it not assumed? And I would like to add, has it been spoken recently? Have you said something about it in like the last month or 2 weeks or something like that? Because if you have not, I don't know about you, but I do not have the capacity to carry everything that's been spoken to me ever in my brain all at the same time. So do you have a moment where it's been spoken out loud, right? Conscious, agreed upon, realistic, spoken. If one of these has been violated, you could be upset and disappointed, and that's a totally valid emotion. You just can't hurt other people because of it. Or like make them feel bad, right? Because all of your relationships are going to suffer if that's the case. CARS. How does that feel? You guys love that? When I heard this for the first time, I went through all of my expectations, and every single one of them violated one of these 4 things. And I was like, and I'm a mess. Shoot. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. If you can't get all 4, it's probably not realistic. Here's the fun fact about this in application. The only way to get all 4 of these to be checkboxes is to have a relationship with that person. Which means that if you have expectations of people you're not in a relationship with and who disappoint you all the time, I would just highly recommend giving that up, right? Like, not to be too whatever, but like with our political system. You can have a lot of expectations about our political system. They did not agree to a lot of things that you think they should be doing. You're not aware that this was an expectation you had until it doesn't work anymore. Some of the things you expect are totally unrealistic and nobody in the government is thinking about it. And nobody said that it was going to be the case in the first place. If some of those things are real, then we have a right and a reality to vote in that direction and have that kind of conversation. But most things we're upset about don't fit in, don't check mark these 4 things. And so the question becomes, how would Jesus respond to this stuff? What kind of relationship would he have with people for there to be valid expectations? What kind of character would he display when they get violated? These are the questions. Not a lot of answers, but these are the questions. We have to treat people as people and not as a summary of our judgments. Here's how I'd like to end. I just want to read Jesus' word to us in 17:24. Because this is kind of what motivates all of this. Jesus is praying to the Father and he says, Father, I want those you have given me, which is us, to be with me where I am. And I want them so badly to see my glory. The glory that you have given me because you loved me before the creation of the world. Which, fun fact, that's true for us as well in the book of Ephesians. He loved us before the foundation of the world. It's cheesy to say this right now, but we do all of this because of Jesus. Because we love him. He's the one that we follow. He's the one that we copy. He's the one that we worship. He is our example for truth. He is the one who has put love in us. He wants to be with us now and in eternity. He wants both. And he has his own expectations for us. Let's run through cards again. It's an expectation for unity. It's conscious. He understands that there's an expectation for unity. It's realistic, or else he'd be a liar. Maybe. It's spoken. We just read it. The thing that's missing is that it's not agreed upon, usually. Right? For all of us. To the degree that we agree with Jesus on this aspect of unity will be the degree to which his glory is displayed, and that we are a witness to the world. But we do have to agree. We do have to work with him on that. We do have to say yes to it. If we don't, then as bad as it sounds, it just won't happen. He's not going to override us. He's not going to give us a new CPU. He's not going to put in a different whatever to make us do it. He's going to honor us, and we can agree with him or we cannot. But his preference would be that we would agree with him. We're going to move into our time of response. We're just going to spend 5 to 8 minutes or so just reflecting on anything Jesus has to say to us. I've got a few things up here that you can reflect on. One, if you just want to think to yourself, journal, in your phone or whatever, who are specific people or groups of people that I am tempted to judge or separate myself from? How do I feel around them? What kind of experiences have I had? That could be a reflection. Maybe once some of that makes sense to you, you can ask the Lord, Lord, what do you have to say about these relationships or groups of people? How do you view them? And then last but not least, as we try to give time to as much as we can, we're going to have a few people up here. We'll have Caroline on one side and Brad on the other. I'll be in the middle. If there's a prayer need that you have, whether it's relating to this topic or relationships, or there's something that you're concerned about, if there's a physical need that you have, anything like that, we would love to pray for you. We're going to set aside some time to do that. If there's something that you'd love to confess, that'd be great. Only trustworthy people are going to be up here to pray with you. But we want to join in the hearts of saints through the years who have come to their community and said, I need prayer. I need to be uplifted in this moment. I need the work of the Spirit that's mediated through another person. So I'm going to invite Caroline and Brad up, and then I'm going to pray for us, and then we can take some time for a response. So would you pray with me?